Alright, today is one of Sasuke had a sister part two. So last part we started off was, or last part we left off was when Naruto and Sasuke, I think they were sitting in a tree, and Madara was like, "You can't ambush me." It's that planetary devitation. Meteor came down, and uh, Naruto says, "Vermilion Rasengan," and Sasuke says, "Fire style, majestic flame destroyer," and they say combo move, Vermilion fireball, and basically Vermilion was saying the Rasengan just gets off like Sasuke fire. Yeah, it gets Sasuke fire in it. Like the heats, it looked like it's like not that hot, but the heats are like over like 3,000 degrees. So they Sasuke, he's like, sorry, Sasuke. Okay, go in there. Sasuke is like, Sasuke is like, sorry. Sasuke is like, sorry. Sasuke says that's gonna break it for sure, and as it destroys it, and Madara says, "You're one of the." He says, "You're one of the few that ever destroyed my planetary levitation. You two must be strong." And he says, "Yeah, we are strong." He says, Sasuke says, "You dang right we are." And Naruto says, "Yeah, believe it." And basically Naruto, after he says, "Yeah, believe it," Madara, he says, "Now fight me and see who's stronger." And he says, "All right." Well, he says, "You're gonna lose, man. You're just a waste of my time." And and ooh, basically, Madara, well not Madara, yeah, Madara blitzes in and says, "Me losing the greatest Uchiha ever, to you must be out of your mind." And as we see, as we see, basically Naruto, Naruto and Sasuke blitzing at Madara, and Madara blitzing at like basically Madara blitzing at, they like blitzing at each other and attacking each other, and Madara has this sight like parrying other attacks and stuff like that, like the physical attacks. I think I said Hashirama with her, or Tobirama with him. I don't know. I think I did. If I did, he Madara by himself. And basically they just sitting there. Basically they just sitting there going ham. And Madara says it's time to step my game up. And he says Sharingan. As he goes to a 3-2-1 Sharingan. He goes to 3-2-1. And he starts fighting them. But like he's not winning, but he's not winning or he's not losing, but he's doing like, it's like balance for both of them. It's balanced for both of them. And Sasuke says Sharingan, and he turns out the Eternal Mangeki or Sharingan and say Tsukiyomi, as he looks up at the moon. And Madara, he says release, and Naruto gets trapped in it because he wasn't paying attention. And he says ah, as he falls down. And Madara looks at Sasuke and says, Madara looks at Sasuke and he says, basically he says, how did you, he says, so you put your own friend in the Tsukiyomi, huh? So you and him are gonna die here today. And basically what Naruto is saying in the Tsukiyomi is Suki. I think I named, or Sasha. It's Sasha getting killed, by, Madara. Like, let's keep repeating and repeating. And like, he sees the, he sees, nah, he sees, Shia says, Sasha saying, Naruto-kun, where are you? And Naruto, he's breaking down the stairs, and he's hitting the ground, and says, why'd you have to die on me? Why? As he's beating her. He's like, wake up, as he's moving her and shaking her. And he holds her in his hand and says, please wake up. You're the only one who ever cared for me. Please wake up. And she touches his face and says, goodbye, Naruto-kun. And basically, Naruto dark side takes over and it breaks the genjutsu. And basically, Naruto, it was a little fragment still left in his mind of his dark side. And the dark side, it just kept growing and growing. Always said his dark side couldn't die. It got extracted, but it formed right back because it was like a part of Naruto. So we see, basically Naruto is like, Naruto, he says, I'm gonna say Naruto says, or Madara says, no way, is that the legend that Tobi or Hashirama talked about? I think it's Hashirama. Yeah, he says, he says, no way, that's the legend that Tobirama, talked about. He'll be the evil doer of this world. And he says, I'm sorry for all the harm I've done to you, my lord. And Naruto Darkseid says, looks like I've got control. You're gonna die now. As he kills, Madara. Well, he doesn't kill Madara. He will kill him, though. He stabs Madara in the stomach or in the legs, and Madara falls down and says, he tries to get back up and says, my lord, I'm sorry if that was my punishment. And he smacks him and says, I wasn't finished. As he makes a blade out of thin air. He slices Madara's head off. And they're like, Sasuke's like, Naruto, is that you? And Naruto, Darkseid looked at him. I forgot what I called Naruto Darkseid. But Naruto looked at, Dark Naruto looked at him. And he said, what does it look like, huh? He said, my girlfriend is dead, my baby is dead. I have no one at all. And we see Naruto going back to his house with the super high chakra level. And basically, like it's like a scary chakra level, like a scary, high, bloody, killer instinct chakra level. So she feels this and she says, that's definitely Naruto-kun. And she feels it getting stronger and stronger. And she says, is he okay though? She feels his bloodlust. She says, She opens the door as soon as he sits there, and she says, Naruto-kun, what happened? And he walks past her, and he goes, this is Dr. Naruto. He says, he walks past her, and he goes to sit on the couch. He says, make me some food now. She says, yes, Naruto. She's like, okay, Naruto. And basically, she made him his favorite dish, and she said, here you go. And she smiled, and he snatches the plate, says, thank you, to useless brat. Or useless, he says useless whore. I bet you bring around other people while I'm gone, aren't you? And she says, no, Naruto-kun, I will only love you. She says, no, Naruto, my heart is only big enough for you, a child, and my brother. And Naruto says, yeah, you're lying. I know you are. But she's not lying. She's super loyal to Naruto. She's like Hinata. And she says, no, I'm not. She screams. She says, no, I'm not. I'm telling the truth. And he gets up and says, he smacks her and says, don't raise your voice at me. And she says, why'd you? She looks down and says, you hit me. And she starts crying. And she screams at him and says, I thought you said you were never gonna lay your hands on me, Naruto-kun. And he says, Naruto's fighting it back. We see Dark Naruto start crying. And she said, bring Naruto-kun back. He would never do such a thing. And he said, Naruto, he's trying to fight. And he sees Suki. I know where I left off, but I'm gonna say Naruto pulls back and he releases the Dark Naruto, and he says he's about to touch her, and she says, don't touch me, I hate you. I want the real Naruto back. As she runs out, or she goes into her room, and she goes into her room and she locks the door, and she's crying. And when she's crying, Naruto says, he goes to the door and he tries to open it. And she says, stay back. She says, stay back. I'll kill you in a second. And Naruto says, you're gonna kill the person you love? And she says, Naruto. And he says, I'm sorry. He says, I'm sorry for what he did to you. And he says, I'm sorry for what he did to you. And she doesn't know if it's the Dark Naruto or the real Naruto. Because if it's the real Naruto, he's gonna hug her and kiss her. But it's the Dark Naruto, he go hit her again. And she says, no, I can't trust you. And Naruto says, why? I'm sorry for what he did. And she opens the door. And she sees Naruto crying. And she hugs him. And says, Naruto-kun. And Naruto hugs her back. Super tight. And says, I thought you died. And Naruto, and she says, why would you think that? And he says, Sasuke accidentally put me in a Tsukuyomi, and yeah, he just put me in a Tsukuyomi. He doesn't tell her about the thing that he did to Madara. or about what his demon side is. So basically, she says, Naruto, I can't take this anymore. I can't take you being one side. One day you're all moody and happy, and the other day you're gloomy, abusive, and angry all the time. And he says, and she says, I need a break. And Naruto, he says, what are you talking about? And she says, I need a break, Naruto. And he says, wait, she says, I'll be back in a couple months. And he says, she says, I'll be back in a couple months. And she goes in her room, packs her clothes and her shoes and stuff. And he says, at least take your pendant, or at least take your ring. And he says, at least take your ring. And basically, after he says, at least take your ring, she says, I'll leave it here for when I come back. And Naruto says, what? You can't do that. We're supposed to be engaged. And she says, I don't want to love someone who, she says, like I said, Naruto, I don't want to love someone who's happy one day, then the next he's abusive and angry. And Naruto says, but that's not me. That's him. As she says, all your emotions and all your personalities are still you, Naruto. As she says, I can't help it. It's not my fault that I was born this way. And she says, I'm sorry, Naruto. She closes the door. And she hears Naruto screaming. She hears Naruto scream. I need to kill myself to get this beast out of me. And maybe she'll love me then. And basically, I'm gonna be right back. And basically, she hears this. She says, wait, please. And he says, so he grabs a kunai, he sticks in his neck. He says, hopefully I'll come back to life. And I'll get rid of this beast that's inside of me. And basically, she hears the thump on the floor and she says, Naruto? And she starts crying. And she starts beating on the door. She starts beating on the door and says, Naruto, open the door. Naruto, well, she runs in and she sees Naruto. And we'll say Sasuke heard the screams. The screams at her, and she runs in. And Sasuke gets there like 10 minutes later, and he sees Naruto on the floor dead with a kunai in his neck. And basically, she says, brother, why did I not accept him? It's all my fault. And he goes to her and says, no, it's not your fault. As Naruto, he's still alive, but just barely. And Naruto, Sasuke says, he's still alive, we need to get him to the hospital. As Naruto grabs her, and Sasuke grabs, Sasha, and Naruto, they're holding their arms. He's holding their arms, and he says, we need to go she says, let's go to the hospital, what are you doing? And he brought his brothers to the hospital with Naruto in his hand, like, he's holding him. basically, she just driving. She was driving. Well, she not driving. She runs to the hospital and says help. My fiance tried to kill himself, and the nurse is like, what? Why would he want to do such a thing? And they say no time. They grab Naruto and says we need to quickly perform surgery. As after she says we need to quickly perform surgery, the whatchamacallit says, she says, Sasuke, wait here. And she has to go with Naruto, and the doctor says, no, Mitch, you can't come. And she says, but that's my husband. And she says, I'm coming. And the car says, Miss, I'm sorry, but you can't come. And he says, I'm going. That's my husband. And Sasuke walks over there and says, let my sister go. And the car lets his sister go. And she says, thank you, Sasuke, now I can go. And Sasuke neck chops her and says, sorry, sis, you can't. I don't want you to see this. As she gets passed out, and he carries her over to the seat and lays her down. And basically, he lays her down, and we get to Naruto in his room, and basically they pull the kunai out and they quickly like connect his vocal cords back, and they like put the paste on there, like that bone in your vocal cord. Yeah, they put the paste on there, and basically after they put the paste on there, Naruto started breathing again. He said, he's saying, this is how he's breathing. He's breathing like rapidly, and the doctor's like, if he keeps up this heart rate, then he'll die from exhaustion. And a doctor gives him mouth to mouth to make him breathe like steadier, and he starts breathing calmer. And she's like, it works. And I want to say by this time, we do a 3-hour time skip, and Naruto, he's in a coma. Naruto in a coma. And basically, Chris got it. Basically, Naruto, he's in a coma. And the doctor says, you can see him now, but I have to warn you. And before she can say he's in a coma, doctor knows he's gonna be in a coma. He says there's no way he'll still be awake after that. And after he goes to Sasuke, he's just walking there thinking about, like, he knows what's gonna happen. And he knows what's gonna happen. And she says, Sasuke says, I'm so sorry, sister. Or he says, I'm so sorry, sis, what happened to Naruto. But we can't do anything now. As she walks in the door and she sees Naruto, neck is like wrapped up. And she says, Naruto. As she runs and she says, Naruto, she starts talking. And then she notices Naruto is asleep, and she says, oh, you're asleep. She says, I'll just wait here. As she goes to sleep, and I would say she goes to sleep for like 12 hours,
And she wakes up and she says, "Why are you still asleep? You should be awake by now. You usually don't sleep for this long." And the doctor comes in and says, "Mr. Chia, I have some news for you. I have some very unfortunate news for you." And he says, the doctor says, "I have some good news and some bad news, but I have more bad news than good news." And she says, "Okay, tell me the bad news first." And the doctor says, we Naruto Uchiha, he is, because they're married by life. He says Naruto Namikaze Uchiha Uzumaki he is not gonna be waking up for a long time. And she says, "What do you mean?" And she says, the doctor has estimated the time of he's gonna be in a coma for about 4 to 5 years. And she says, "What do you mean a coma?" And she says, "No, he can't be. He's too strong. And he has the power." And she says, he's so strong. He's too strong. His Jinchuriki partner should be healing him right now."
And she says, "I'm sorry, but no, it's not." And
what's the name? She says after, "No, her name is gonna be Sasha Uzumaki." Sashi Uchiha Uzumaki. And she'll get out his last name. Yeah. But basically, and he says, "I have some more bad news. If he might not be able to talk for a while after he wakes up from his coma. And I mean, for about a year or two." And she says, "What do you mean not talk for a while?" And she says, "His vocal cords are slit in half. And normally when your vocal cords are slit in half, you can't talk anymore." So basically, his vocal cords, we stitched them back together, but his vocal cords, let's say, she says his vocal cords are not healed yet, and vocal cords are very fragile and they take a very long time to heal. And she says, "Okay." As Sasuke walks into the room, he says, "I knew this would happen." As he touches Naruto's head, and like Itachi did, he touches Naruto's head. And she says, "This is all your fault. If you have never casted that stupid Tsukiyomi, and tried to fight the Madara off, and he would have still been alive. He would have been here now, talking and kissing me and loving me." And she says, I hate you, Sasuke." And she goes to him and she smacks him and says, you guys could have beat him without that genjutsu. Why'd you do it, Sasuke?" And Sasuke says, "I thought we were gonna lose." And she says, "That's all you do is think. You don't try anything." And Sasuke says, well, he says, well, Sasuke says, "I'm so sorry, sister." And she says, you're not my brother anymore. And she says, get out. And Sasuke says, and she says, get out. And she's screaming or crying at the same time. And Sasuke gets out and says, I'm sorry. And she says, shut up. And she gets a clipboard that was by her, and she throws it at Sasuke, but it misses. She says, I hate you. Now you are my brother anymore. I was surprised he would have killed you, and he killed the other Uchiha clan. And basically, Naruto, not Naruto, but not Sakura. What's her name? Sasha goes to Naruto. She kisses him, and she says, I hope you wake up. She said, I hope you wake up before your child is born. She rubs her stomach. And when she rubs her stomach, she feels the baby's kick or hands touching, like they're like touching her stomach. And basically, they touch on her stomach. And basically, Naruto or Sasha, she's like, you want to meet him so bad, I know you do. And he says, I can already tell I'm going to be just like him. And she says, she asks the doctor and says, what's the good news? And she says, well, the good news is kind of bad news, but let's just say it's alright. She says, what is it? And the nurse says, well, Naruto, she says, spit it out already. And she says, he's not going to be able to move for a long time. And she says, how the hell is that good news? And she says, the doctor says, well, if he doesn't move, his vocal cords could heal faster. And she smacks the nurse, and she's about to hit the nurse again, as another nurse goes in and stops her and says, calm down, calm down. As she excuses her, she excuses the other nurse. And the other nurse is like, I slapped her, But that, nah, but that nurse is like, okay. And she goes to Naruto, and she says, please be here for your child's birth. And we time skip 8 years. And Sasuke, Naruto's son, has been coming to see him every day. But one special day, it's Naruto's birthday. He says, he goes around, he laughs, he says, haha, happy birthday, Dad. He touches his chest and says, you'll be here one day, I already know it. I can't wait to see how your personality is. As she's walking, Sasha is walking to Naruto thing, hospital bed. And he says, I know you'll be here one day. There's no doubt about it. The best dad in the world, even though I haven't met you. I know you will be. And Naruto, he wakes up, or Sasha goes in there and she says, Sasha goes in there and she said, yeah, he is good. He is gonna be the best dad. He's the best fiance too. And Naruto, in those 8 years, he's been fighting off his darkness, and he killed the darkness. He exterminated it. He actually destroyed it from his head. And he wakes up, Naruto gasps and wakes up, and he says, "Who the hell are you, little boy?" That's the chakra eyes form. And no, I'm gonna say he's blind, or his eyesight is blurry. He sits up, and he says, "I must have been in that." He says, "I must have been asleep for a year." He says, "I must have been asleep for a long time." As he gets up out of the bed, and the doctor, she's like, and he walks out the door, and they're like, "He didn't see us?" And they ran out the door and said, "Naruto." Well, she says, "Naruto-kun." And the little boy says, "Dad, is that you?" And Naruto rubs his eyes. I'll be right back.
So basically, Naruto,
he stops and he says, "Is that you?" And she says, "Yeah." Or we go, no. Yeah, she says, "Yes, me, Naruto-kun." As she walks over, she runs over there. She dashes over there. And she says, "Naruto-kun." She says, "Oh, sorry, Dad. Oh, sorry, I heard that." She says, "Naruto-kun, I'm so happy you're alive." And she kisses him on the lips. And he's hesitating because he's lost some of his memory. Then he fell on the lips. He's like, "Yeah, this year." And he kisses back. He picks her up. He puts her on the wall. And they're like just going at it. And the nurses say, tap Naruto's shoulders and says, "Sir, I'm going to need you to get back in the hospital bed. We still need to run some tests on you to make sure everything is fine." And he says, "Well, I feel fine. I think that'll be enough." And she says, "Sir, I'm really going to need you to get back in that bed." And he says, Naruto says, "Oh, okay." As he's holding her. But she says, "And you can't do the nasty in here. This is the hospital." And Naruto says, "Oh, yeah, sorry." And, as she says, "Oh, yeah, sorry." I'm gonna say Naruto's son is short, so he walks past him, and he says, "Hey, Dad, so you just gonna walk past me like that?" And he's like, "Who's there? This must be my imagination again." And he says, "No, look down, you idiot." And Naruto says, "Huh?" He looks down, and he says, "Oh, hi, son." Because he don't know how to talk to his son. He's been gone for 8 years of his life. He says, "Oh, hi, son." As he looks down and says, "I'm sorry I wasn't there for 8 years of your life." And he says, "No, it doesn't matter, Dad. You're here now, so that's all that matters. And plus you were in a coma. So yeah." And basically Naruto says, "You must have came and visit me every day." And he said, "Yeah, we sure did." And he said, "Yeah, we sure did." And basically Naruto he's he picks up his son and he hugs him and he says, "I'm so sorry." And he starts crying. And the son starts crying. I'm like, "I'm so sorry I wasn't there." And the son is like, it's alright. And the nurse is like, sir, I'm not trying to ruin the moment, but I need you back in your bed, your hospital bed. And he says, okay, sorry, as he puts his son down and wipes his tears. And he kisses Sasha again. And basically, Sasha, she blushes and she says, Naruto, I love the taste. I love how you kiss me. And he said, well, get in the bed with me. And maybe I do a little more than kiss you. And the nurse is like, I'm sitting right here, you know. The nurse says, ma'am, I can't have you guys do sexual things. Kissing is fine, but I can't have you guys do sexual things in the hospital. And he says, I wasn't going to do sexual things at all. No, I was just going to cuddle with her. And my boy Lion, he says, I was just going to cuddle with her. Quotation. So, the nurse is like, okay. Oh, she said, oh, okay. Sorry for thinking that. And he says, no, it's fine. And you see, I'm gonna say Naruto. He still got the same fit on him. And he says, my clothes really did shrink. He puts out his wallet and says he gives his son $300. He said, go spend it on whatever you want. And he says, Naruto gives him his phone. Or he says, have someone I want you to meet. And he says, his name is Sasuke. And she says, who's Sasuke? And she says, you don't know Sasuke? And he looks at Sasha and says, you didn't tell him? And she says, no, it was his fault. You were in this mess, you were in this mess from the beginning. And Naruto and Shia and Sasuke had been for 8 years. Cause she's been avoiding him, and he's gonna get back with her, and she's been avoiding. Saying, no, I want to talk to you. Like, sometimes she felt like they get shit up at her door, and he's like scream him off, and he just leaves. So yeah, that's another one. And basically, Naruto, he says, do you still have bad blood? Like, he like, do you still have some bad blood? And he says, yeah. I blamed him that it was you. I blamed Sasuke that it was his fault that you were in the coma in the first place. And he hugs her and says, nah, it was my fault. I let my darkness take over me. And he says, but don't worry, don't worry anymore. I made sure that I wiped it from my head. And he says, his son doesn't get his darkness. I don't want that. Nah. Should I? Yeah, I'm playing. I ain't gonna make that happen. So yeah, so basically, Izuku, he says, Izuku says, Izuku basically says, not Izuku, my bad, y'all. Naruto says, well, he says, you don't know what happened in a long time? And she says, what? I'm gonna say, yes. I wish her name that's the thing. Nasha would be a good girl named Nasha if she was a girl. But nah, silence. Sana, Sanu, Sanu, Sano, Sana, Sa. Okay, I'm gonna name him Sanu. Nah, I'm gonna name him Sano, Sano. I'm gonna name him Sano. Nah, I'm gonna name him Jacob or Caleb. I'm gonna name him Caleb. He says Caleb is basically just playing on his phone and talking to Sasuke. And Sasuke's trying something. I haven't heard your voices in a minute. You know, he emotional type because his family did not die, so he's not emo. Yeah, so he's not emo. And basically, then we get back to 18 plus scene ish. We get back to we get back to what's her name? Sasha and Naruto. And basically they are, she says, what haven't we done in a long time? And he grabs her cheeks and he says, I think you know. And she says, oh, you want to go right there. And she has it jangling and he automatically he's jangling guitar. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, so after that, he started tongue kissing her, and he's taking his shirt off. She's taking her shirt off, you know. And he lay on the bed, or she lay him on him. He gets on the bed and she gets on top of him. And basically, I said the rest is like a 2-minute walk away. They're still tongue kissing, and they take their pants off. And Naruto, he says, this, I bet you're gonna feel good. And she says, I haven't done it in a long time, so it might hurt. And she says, Naruto, take it slow. And Naruto says, okay. As he shows the whole thing in, and no blood comes out. But she still feels like some thinking. And she says, Naruto, I thought you go slow. And he just started moving his hips and yeah. He just started moving his hips and started moving her hips. He started moving her hips. And the nurse is like, what the hell is going on? She busts open that. She knocks on the door, and Naruto, Naruto says, come in, as he puts her in his chest. And she says, oh, I thought you guys were doing something. And Naruto says, yeah, just cuddling. And she says, you must be cuddling naked, huh? And Naruto says, well, I haven't felt her boobs in a long time. And I really want that shirt off. So, and the doctor says, you two are a bunch of freaks. And Naruto says, can't lie about that. And she blushes. But she says, I'm not a freak. And he says, you are though. He grips the booty. He grips the booty. He started moving her up and down. Basically, she under the covers, but you can see her head, her arms. That's how you can see. You can see her head and her arms. So Naruto basically says, I'm about to ejaculate. And she says, please do it inside me. And nurse says, I don't need another child though. He don't say that. He don't say that. He says, Nato says, won't feel it, and we'll say he ejaculates. After he ejaculates, she moans super loud, and he's a knock on the door. He says, Dad, I'm coming in, and they hurry up. They don't put their clothes on, but they like get under the cover, and they start kissing, and they start kissing while she starts kissing him while she's on top of him. And she said, I forgot my, okay, Caleb says, ew, she's nasty as he closes the door. And he says, he sees Sasuke there. He said he sees a strange man outside in a cloak. And he says, who are you? As he gets to the fighting stand. And he says, shotting gun. And he says, Uzumaki chains, go! As he sees 9 Uzumaki chains coming out, what's the name? Bro, this one sounds sus, but the thing is, no, basically, right above you, no, I'm about to say, I wear a spinal cord in. Yeah, so I'm about to say, never mind. Basically, right there, 9 Uzumaki chains are coming out. And he says, who are you? Huh? Yes, tell me. You're not getting in here without passing me. And he says, don't make me use my majestic flame destroyer on you. And Sasuke says, kid, you can use majestic flame destroyer, this early? And he says, yeah, I'm trained a lot. Enough of that. Who are you? And he says, you're a person trying to steal my dad's power, aren't you? As he's saying, and he says, well, I'm sorry, I'm not gonna let that happen. As he blitzes Sasuke, he says, kid, you didn't even let me finish my sentence. And he says, I don't need to. I already know what you're after. You're after my dad's Jinchuriki beast. And he says, now Sasuke says, I'm really kid, I'm not. And he says, yeah, you are. You all say that until I actually catch you trying to extract him. And he says, don't worry, I'll make your death quick. As he blitzes behind Naruto with Sasuke and Sasuke. He turns around to the shotting gun. As he says, cling, 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 and then Caleb movements. And he blitzes Caleb and says, Caleb says, majestic flame destroyer. And Sasha hears it and says, Naruto, Caleb is finding someone outside. He says, huh? Nah, that could be impossible. And Caleb is like, Sasha's like, he is, I just heard him say majestic flame destroyer. And he says, and she says, he says, just wait a little bit. He should beat them, right? He has Uzumaki chains. And also, he has a Sharingan. As he starts curling her. And she's trying to break free. But it feels so warm. And she says, I guess I can stay here for a little bit, right? And they fall asleep. They basically fall asleep. And basically, after they fall asleep, we see, after they fall asleep, Naruto, or Sasuke's like, kid. He said, kid, I'm your Uncle Sasuke. You don't remember my voice? He says, no way, you're my uncle. My uncle was an Uchiha, and he was one of the greatest too. You only have that eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. And he says, let me show you something about power. Something about power that only me and my father can understand. As he says, Rinnegan. As the Rinnegan activates, and it like got some noise on it. And he says, Sasuke says, so I have a Rinnegan too. As he says Rinnegan, noise on it. And he says, you might be powerful. So Caleb says, you might be powerful, but you're not powerful than me. Yeah. And Sasuke says, your dad is Naruto, right? And he says, yeah, but anybody can know that. And he says, no, I can tell you the day he was born and everything. I'm his best friend. Or he says, I'm your Uncle Sasuke, and I'm also your dad's best friend. And he says, I don't believe you. And he says, your mother is Sasha Uchiha, or Uzumaki, whatever her name is now. And he says, your mom and dad are they're engaged, and your dad was in a coma for a couple years. And he says, then what's my name? And Sasuke says, your name is Caleb, right? Caleb, and he makes all the last names. And he says, Uzumaki. And he says, guess you're right. And he says, just one more proof. I want you to call my dad's phone. As he gets Naruto's phone in his pocket. He says, call it. And Sasuke says, okay, fine. He calls it, and it rings. And basically he says, you really are Uncle Sasuke. As he says, he runs into him and says, he did your head to Mr. Rinnegan. And he says, Uncle, you're here. And he says, Sasuke says, how can you turn into, how do you turn into a fighting machine to a happy machine? And he says, that's just me. And Sasuke walks in there, and he taps Naruto, but he thinks he's tapping Naruto's arm, but I would say he's tapping Sasha's head. I mean, he thinks he's tapping Naruto's arm, but he's touching Sasha's head. He says, Naruto, wake up. Look who's here. And Sasha wakes up and she peeks her head from under the cover. And she says, Sasuke, what are you doing here? And she takes all the cover from Naruto and get up just so she can cover herself. And what's Naruto? He's naked. Like, bro. She took all the cover from him. And Sasuke said, what were you two doing here? And she says, we weren't doing anything. What are you even talking about? And she turns around. Sasuke points. And he sees Naruto naked. And she gets back on the bed and puts cover on him and says, we weren't doing anything. We're just covering. And she says, why are you here, Sasuke? It's your fault. And she's screaming. And he says, no, I'm not going to let you push me away this time. And basically, Sasuke, I'm gonna say as Sasuke, he says, I'm not gonna let you push me out. You always push me out. I'm just trying to help. And Naruto wakes up. He says, Sasuke. As he gets from the cover, he forgets that he didn't have any clothes on. He says, Sasuke, as he tries to hug him. And Sasuke, he body flickers and says, after what you guys just did, I don't want your hands to be touching me. And he looks at Shia and says, and Naruto says, oh, are you talking about, as he's about to say, and he sees what's the name coming in, and he body flicks back under the cover, and he says, he cuddles with her, and says, man, I think I need some cough medicine. And he says, son, can you go tell the nurse to give me some cough medicine? And he says, yeah, fine. As he's walking over to get the cough medicine. We go back to Naruto now. And Naruto, him say he puts on his pants. And he say, Sasuke, how's it been? I haven't seen you in eight years, my man. And he says, it's going pretty good. I just, he said it's going pretty good. I just need, Sasuke said it's going pretty good. It was good seeing you and all. And, Naruto says, I bet it was good seeing you too. And he said, we should get a drink sometime. And she says, and she says, Naruto-kun, let's get back to cuddling. As he says, one more, Fia. She passes, okay. As he says, you know what? As he body focus over there, and grabs her by her waist, or say he grab her cheeks, and he says, we can cuddle. And they cuddling, and he's talking to what's her name? Sakura. And he's talking to Sasuke. And they're just chit-chatting about life and what Sasuke's life has been doing. And he says he got him a girl and everything. And basically, he goes, I'm going to say the son comes back. Caleb comes back with the cough medicine and says, here, Dad, I got your medicine. And he says, okay. And he says, come. I need you to kill my taste buds for a minute. And Kurama says, fine. And he says, snake son, as he shakes, he's like shaking while he's pouring cough medicine, nasty. He takes it and he says, he said, good. As he looks at stuff and he says, what the hell, Kurama? Why aren't you beauty or taking away my my taste buds? And he says, too tired. And he screams and says, Kurama, take down my chakra or my taste buds. He says, don't yell at me. He says, fine. Takes him down. He says, great. He says, here you go. He goes back to the doctor now. Gives it back to the doctor. Basically, she comes in there, does the test on him. And they go home. Or she wakes. Yeah, they go home and he's like, oh wow, home. Haven't seen it in a long time. And basically, after he opens the door, I was gonna do Naruto, how he woke up was different, but oh yeah, actually no, I'm gonna just keep on saying. Yeah, so basically Naruto,
They walked home, and he's like, it's actually home. And he goes to, he says home, it's actually home. And he goes to, whatchamacallit crib, hey, but Sasuke almost says, do you want to chill and watch the game? And Sasuke says, you just got back and you're always trying to chill. And he said, actually, no, never mind. I want to do something with your sister. And Sasuke says, what the heck do you mean with my sister? And he says, I think you know. I'm going to pwn you up. Not funny. He says, I think you know. And he put the eggplant in the peach emoji with some splashing. And he says, Naruto, you better not. And he says, we already have one kid. Why not make more? And he says, she's already all up on me anyway. And basically, not Sasuke, he's running over. He's like, just got back. You already trying to, you already trying to have sex. That's not gonna happen. He boom, 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 blitzing, and we see Sasha kissing Naruto, and she says, Naruto, I haven't 18 plus you. She says, Naruto, I haven't felt you in so long. And basically, after she says, I haven't felt you in so long, Naruto says, well, I haven't felt you in so long either. As they start kissing, and after they start kissing, basically, Naruto takes his shirt off and takes her pants off. And basically, after she takes her pants off, she's in some panties. And them things are gorgeous. And he says, I really like your panties. And she blushes and she said, I got them just for you. And she slides them off. It says, she says, now give it to me. And he sticks the tip in. And she moans. And she says, no, I can't wake the kid. She says, no, I can't wake Caleb up. And it's not to say you can't. And he starts tongue kissing her. And she shuts the whole thing in. And she moans super loud. But it's like muffled out by Naruto's, kissing, like while he's kissing her, it's muffled out. So basically, 2 minutes later, Naruto, he beating the cheeks, boy. He's beating the cheeks. And she says, freaky. And they on the couch doing this. And Naruto says, Naruto's a knock at the door. And she says, don't you think we should answer the door? She said, don't you think we should answer the door? Naruto. And she's getting her cheeks pounded. And he says, that's just Sasuke. I told him I was going to pound your cheeks. And he had to come over there and stop me. He's talking about it's my first day out. But he says, talk about I can pound your cheeks. He smacks her booty and says, I can pound your cheeks right anytime. And she says, yes, Naruto-kun. As Naruto beats on, Sasuke beats on his hand and says, Naruto, let me in, you freaky bastard. And he says, I'm too busy effing your sister. And she says, hey, don't say it like that.
And he says, sorry. Let me rephrase that. He says, I'm too busy effing your sister / my fiance / the mother of my kid / your nephew / no play / your nephew. How does it feel, huh, Sasuke? And Sasuke kicks down that door and he says, where they going? The Tomoe. And Naruto says, or she says, Naruto just put him in a small genjutsu. He says, well, hopefully that'll hold him long enough until I can. He says, his stuff get tighter and tighter or bigger and bigger. And he says, I'm about to, you know what? And she says, I don't care, do it inside me. He said, I already did it. I just did it at the hospital. Are you sure? And she says, Naruto, I don't care, just do it inside me. I want to feel your warm. She said, I want to feel your hot, steamy cum inside me. And he says, whatever you want. He says, whatever you want. He ejaculates. And, yeah. And after he ejaculates, he says, let's go take a shower. As he cleans her up. As he picks her up. I'm going to say she leaking. If you know what I mean, she leaking. I'm like, no, square. And basically, after she leaking, after she was leaking, then after she leaking, Naruto says, looks like I filled you up. And he kisses her. And she says, you sure did. She kisses him. Basically, he goes to her shower, takes her a shower. She started walking. And he says, it really looks like, you need this shower. And she said, just stop talking and bathe me. And he said, whatever you want. He started taking her a shower. 30 minutes later, they turn the water off. And he put some booty shorts on. Nothing else though. He put some booty shorts on. And this is showing her booty though. And Sasuke wakes up and he says, as he sees a white gooey liquid on the couch. And he says, that idiot bastard ejaculated on my sister. As he says, I'll get him one day. As he hears the door close and he says, looks like Sasuke left. He says, looks like Sasuke left. And she said, yeah. She said, yeah. I guess he did. And he says, hey, when did you start wearing booty shorts? And he says, and she blushes. He says, I like it when you wear those shorts. And she says, you do? And she says, yeah, but I can make her booty look bigger. And she blushes and said, and she says, don't talk about my butt like that. He smacks him and says, he smacks him and says, I can talk about anything I want everybody. And he says, at least it's not a bad thing. And she says, but do you think my butt is a bad thing? And he grips it and he says, in 1,000 lifetimes I wouldn't. He says in 1,000 lifetimes
I wouldn't think your booty is bad. To me, it's the best booty I ever seen. And he says, so you been seeing other girls' booties? And he says, baby, you know what I meant. As he grips the booty and says, you know what I meant. And she's blushing and she says, stop playing with my butt like that. As he gets his hand, he goes down her booty shorts and says, I don't even know if I can stop. She says, okay, you wanna play like that? She gives him his pants. And she starts squeezing. When I say she do squeeze, she squirts. My nigga thing. And my boy Naruto says, okay. And she says, that's what I thought. And Naruto acts like he's about to let go, and she lets go. She says, thank you. And he goes back down there, and he squeezes even harder. And he starts like moving them around and squeezing. And says, soft cheeks, yeah, that's you. And she says, I play like that, huh? And she goes down there. And she basically gets his stuff and starts twisting. And he says, okay, I'll let go. He lets go, and she says, no, you need more. She starts twisting. And Naruto said, wait, don't do all that. You're gonna, and he said, boom, cum shot. But yeah, that's what he did. He did it in his pants, and she said, you're disgusting. And he said, I warned you, sorry. He said, I warned you, sorry. As he goes out and she wipes her hand on his shirt, and she says, it's your shirt. Or she says, it's your stuff, so it's gonna go on you, not me. And he says, it doesn't really need to go on you, just in you. And she blushes and says, yeah, whatever you said. And he says, I like it when you blush like that. Am I recording? I'm not. I am. She says, I like it when you blush like that. He says that. And she blushes even harder and says, look like I got you red. And she blushes even harder. She beats on the chest and says, stop it. And he says, you got it. And he cuddles her. And he's cuddling him. Eventually they cuddling each other. And that's where I'm gonna leave it off at. Yeah.